Please welcome from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Dr. Atasha Jordan.
Thanks so much, Christine. And kind of like everyone else has said, I am really thankful to Encore and Christine for bringing us all together to have the opportunity to hear such beautiful stories that we've heard so far. I really appreciate everyone who has shared with us a little bit of their heart, a little bit of their experiences. And yeah, it's just been really inspiring to hear you all. I am, like Christy, a resident. I started my residency after graduated from Wharton, and I am specifically in psychiatry. And specifically, I'd say that I'm a Christian psychiatry resident. And that to me is important because as I share with you what my unexpected gift was for 2020, it was the idea of Ikigai. And you probably might not have heard of Ikigai before, but it is a Japanese concept which really just means a reason for being. So, my unexpected gift in 2020, despite all of the chaos, despite all of the madness, was discovering my reason for being. Ikigai, in particular, there are four components that really make up what it is to have found Ikigai. You have a combination of what you love, what you're good at, what you could be paid for, and what the world needs. So I'll kind of rewind back to the beginning of this story to show you and show how I was able to, thankfully, by God's blessing, find this reason for being. So at the beginning of this year, in January, I think it was, someone at my church, she approached me and she asked me to speak at the Women's Breakfast for the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. And she asked me as a psychiatry resident to speak about depression. And I think one of the things for me that was really amazing in that moment was the fact that someone in the church would ask me to speak about mental health. Many of you might not be familiar with Christianity or with what the community is like, but conversations about mental health are not that common in church. And honestly, conversations prior to 2020 about mental health were still stigmatized and marginalized and uncomfortable, honestly. So when I was asked to be able to come into the church and talk about mental health, I honestly jumped at the opportunity. I think one thing I made sure to tell her, though, was I was not going to be someone who was aligned with the idea of pray it away type ideas or saying that, we would only lean on our faith. I wanted to make sure that she knew I would talk about medication, I would talk about psychotherapy, and just all of these other features that really would be able to help Christians deal with mental health. So, this was around January, kind of time went on. And I think what, of course, none of us would have expected was then the pandemic hit. And in my field of work in particular, dealing with mental health, I think kind of as others have shared in their stories that mental health for many of us has become such a center of conversation going forward. The isolation that we're facing, the uncertainty, people losing jobs, losing access to resources, not having funds, all of this together with losing loved ones, whatever it might be, it's leading to increased depression, increased anxiety, increased substance use. It's leading to people taking their own lives by suicide. And this is something I deal with on the day-to-day. It's something that I see, and I personally experience my own challenges with these same issues of isolation and how do I maintain my wellness while also trying to deal with the wellness of others. So as time went on and, churches aren't meeting in person anymore, the organizer who had before asked me to talk about mental health, she basically was like, I guess we're not going to be able to have this talk anymore. And I, at this point, we're all getting used to using Zoom. And I said, absolutely not. This is a time where more than ever, we needed to be able to have this conversation. So in May for Mental Health Awareness Month, I had the opportunity to, in my church virtually for a group of about 70 women, 70 Black women, 70 women of Korean descent, 70 Christian women have an open and candid conversation about mental health. And this was something that I was really excited for. I felt like God had opened up this opportunity for me to do this, but I hadn't expected it to fundamentally change my life, honestly. As a result of this conversation, I think for the first time ever in my church, there was a space where women had the opportunity to openly share about their own experiences with depression, with feeling at the pit of life that there was nowhere but up to go because they felt so down, about their experiences with taking antidepressants, with seeing a psychotherapist, and having these conversations amongst Christian women where many times the church will say, lean on God only. And to be able to see that these were women who were strong in their faith and were leaning on God, but also recognize that they could get additional help, and that I was able to be a part of that conversation, there was something that just fundamentally shifted for me. And for that, I recognized that I had found my Ikigai. That conversation was something that I loved. I loved talking with these women about their wellness and how to prioritize our wellness as human beings, how, as Haifa said, to be still, how to nourish ourselves, and how to really find ways to live and to dance just for the sake of dancing. I realized that I was good at it. I learned that I love being able to just talk and have conversations and allow people to learn and discover what it means to be well, and how we can truly put our mind and the health of our mind first and foremost before anything else. I learned that I could be paid for it. That was also great. Since that talk, I've had the opportunity to speak at other churches and actually get paid for it. And this is something I could maybe even do as my career going forward. So that was great to learn. And then I also learned that this was something that the Christian world needed. We need more conversations about mental health, and not just for Christians, but I would say for all of us, that mental health is something that we're learning to prioritize. And for us to be able to make it forward, this is something that we all really just need. So that, honestly, it's what the gift has been for me in 2020, that despite the challenges, and work has been hard. I would say, as Christy shared, working in the hospital, working in mental health, this has been an incredibly challenging year. But despite all of that, I feel incredibly blessed to have come out of this year really learning that my reason for being here is to help others to be as mentally strong as they can be. And one of the other things I'll just share is that I wish this for each of you. I think one of the things that I learned coming out of Wharton is there's so many different ways to approach the life that we want to live. And I wish for each of you that you are able to find something that you love. I wish that you're able to find something that you're good at, something that you can be paid for, and find something that is your reason for being, and it's something that the world needs. So simply, I just wish that you all will also be able to find your Ikigai.